Am I the butthole for refusing to stop wearing my swimsuit at our pool parties? My husband Greg, 51 male, and I, 54 female, make pretty good money as Greg is a radiologist. Thus, we chose to buy a house that had an outdoor pool and hot tub, as we knew how much we would love it, along with our kids Hannah, 23 female, and Ben, 18 male. In the 3 years since we moved into our house, we've hosted some great pool parties for family, friends, and both on different occasions. We live in California, so a few weeks ago over Ben's winter break, we were able to host a pool party to allow him and his guy and girlfriends to celebrate their upcoming last semester of high school. It was a good time, and Greg and I even chilled at the party for a bit too, while Hannah was out that day with friends. It's important to mention now that both Greg and I had also been in our bathing suits. Well, just yesterday, Ben politely asked if in the future, I could stop wearing bikinis at our pool parties in front of his friends. I was flabbergasted and asked why, and Ben reluctantly explained that he had caught some of his guy friends staring at points at the last pool party, and when he confronted them about it, they didn't deny it. Ben's friends said they'd stop in the future, but Ben still wasn't super comfortable about it. He said it was weird for his mom to be objectified like that by his friends, and asked if I could stop. I rolled my eyes and told Ben that his friends were being immature teenagers, but I would decide to take their word for it that they'd really stop if they're decent young men. Ben wasn't having it and got a little upset, and Greg came in after overhearing a good chunk of it. Greg agreed with Ben and said I should stop unless I want to be inappropriate around the teens. Frustrated, I told Greg and Ben to stop mansplaining to me and that nothing about swimsuits are inherently inappropriate, and that Greg was a hypocrite given he was in his trunks in front of Ben's friends. Greg told me I was being short-minded, and annoyed, I stormed out of the house and took a drive for a few hours. I got home half an hour ago and the house is silent and awkward. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. Ben needs to learn that he doesn't get to control what women wear. And apparently so does your husband. It is not a woman's job to dress in a way that makes men able to control themselves. This is a great opportunity to teach Ben that it's not appropriate for men to objectify any woman and that he should advocate for his friends to learn the same. Not the butthole. Am I the butthole for not buying a drink for my friends? I was out with a few friends the other day. We went to a restaurant for dinner. One of my friends is Muslim, and is very strict about everything. For example, once one of her coworkers was smoking in the break room and she asked her to do it somewhere else, as it's against her religion. My friends wanted drinks, and I saw that my Muslim friend, I'll call her Fatima, looked to the ground and grimaced. When the waiter came I told him for just a few glasses of water, nothing else, and my friend interjected and asked for a beer. I stoked the waiter and told him no, just water. When he came back with the water, all my other friends piped up at me and started an argument about it. Fatima was being silent, but later told me she appreciated what I did. After dinner, my friends left me with the bill and drove home. So am I the butthole? Edit, I should really add, these were my friends, not hers. They met her once and asked her to come. You're the butthole. Fatima is allowed to practice her religion, but she has no right to project her beliefs onto other people and dictate what they can and can't drink. People like her are the reason there's so much tension between religious and non-religious people. Both you and Fatima have unreasonable expectations of your friends. If Fatima has such a big issue with drinking, maybe just leave? She nor you have any authority over your friend's choices whatsoever. You're the butthole. Waiter, hey guys, what will you have? OP, I'd like the sirloin steak please. Friend A, he'll have the salad. OP, actually no, I want the steak. Friend A, can you please only get salads for this table? OP, why did you order like that for me? Friend A, can't you see you're making friend B uncomfortable? Friend B is a vegan. OP, you're the butthole because you took away your friend's autonomy to choose an item they want in an effort to respect someone else's religion. You're free to order whatever you want for yourself, but never for anyone else and never to make someone else feel comfortable. You're the butthole. Edit, a word, thanks you /Taika, Brahi. Am I the butthole for refusing to apologize to a teacher and parent until they acknowledge that they were wrong? I drop my 9-year-old son off at school at 8 a.m. every morning so he has time to meet up with his friends and whatnot before they line up at 8:30 a.m. Basically, parents drop their kids at the front gate and a staff supervises to make sure that the kids get on campus quickly and keep the flow of traffic moving. If they're not coming to school via car, then they have to enter campus on the other side, which is not preferable because there is a lot of traffic and construction. The system works every day but Friday when they have this one teacher doing gate supervision. She spends way too much time chatting with people. I started keeping track of how much time this is adding up, and it's a lot. Today, she spent time showing apparent pictures on her phone and talking. I honked and was ignored. I can't let my son out of my car until a staff visually sees him transition from my car and onto campus. Eventually I got out of my car and asked the mom and teacher how much longer were they going to be? There's like 20 cars behind me and 3 ahead of me, and this only happens when this teacher is doing gate supervision. The mom drove off and the teacher said nothing. Later today, I got an email from the VP telling me that I yelled at her and the mom and created an unsafe situation by getting out of my car. I corrected that version by saying that the teacher was creating an unsafe situation by creating traffic. The VP asked me if I yelled or cursed and I said nope. She said that someone said that they recorded me doing so. I told her not to play games with me because she'll lose. Because guess what? I recorded it too. All of a sudden it's a misunderstanding and I was asked to apologize to the teacher. I said I would after she acknowledged that she was wrong. Not the butthole. Funny how they changed their tune because you actually recorded it. What would irk me the most about this is that the VP was ready to lie and let the actual unsafe situation continue. Like really? Lying about yelling, lying about cursing, and lying about recording. And then claiming you're creating an unsafe situation? Neither of these people should be in charge of children. Not the butthole. I'm kinda surprised the admin sided with the teacher and is going so far as to demand an apology. I guess they're in the same work _cliché clique or something. Not the butthole. Lamau, send your recording if you must, but the butthurt teacher and whoever lied about having a recording of you cursing and yelling absolutely deserve to get embarrassed. She wasn't wrong, she purposely lied to try and get you in hot water. I see nothing here to apologize for at all. Just going purely off the post, I'd say not the butthole. However, someone who records themselves politely asking how long something will take, and uses the phrase "don't play games with me because you'll lose?" You sound like a piece of work. I won't consider that inference into judgment. I really don't like when people do that here, so I'm still saying not the butthole, but boy howdy you don't come off as a likable person. Am I the butthole for not taking in my son and his family? My ex-wife and I adopted our son when he was 6. We had been his foster parents for 3 years and we wanted to make it official. He met his wife when he was 18. She knew he was adopted and she thought it would be good for him to get to know his biological parents. Over the course of the next few years my ex-wife and I were slowly pushed out of his life. When they got married we only received a wedding invitation. We were not part of the wedding party. His biological parents and their spouses sat at the family table. We have not had the opportunity to meet our granddaughter and she is nearly 3 years old now. I am sad about the situation but my ex-wife is heartbroken. I hate to see her hurt when all she did was try and be a good mom. I can honestly say that I am not a fan of my daughter-in-law and I wish she had never come into our lives. Recently they have run into financial problems and they lost their home. My son's job is in the city we live in and his biological parents and his in-laws all live in other cities. He called my ex-wife to ask if they could stay with us while they got back on their feet. I said no. My ex-wife wants to but I refuse to be used. He has been distancing himself from us for 9 years now. The only reason he called was because he is desperate. I don't think I owe him anything. I offered to pay for whatever it costs for him to move his family to the cities where his real family is. His wife called me to scream at me. She says that I am abandoning my son and grandchild. I said that since he didn't think of us as parents when they got married and had a child then they should not think of us that way now. Then I blocked her. My ex-wife says that I'm being too harsh and that I need to forgive them. But here's the thing. I don't think it will change anything. All that will happen is that they live in our home and then they abandon my wife again as soon as the chance presents itself. #edit. He was removed from his biological parents because they were very young and it wasn't a good situation. If they had been older or more stable I'm sure they would not have severed their parental rights. #edit. Sorry I edited my post to make it more clear. His mom and I are divorced. She is in an extended care facility and he cannot live there. I kept our home. I am still friends with her and we see the kids together as a family. I still care for her deeply but her condition wasn't something she wanted me to deal with. Our son didn't even know we had separated when he called her. Not the butthole. He has been pushing you away for 9 years for his bio parents. He's clearly indicated you are not his parents. He doesn't get to randomly come back and majorly disrupt your lives because he's in a bad position now. He would 100% be using you and his wife sounds awful. You were more than generous to offer to pay for them to relocate. I understand your wife wanting to bring him back but sounds like he has no remorse over how he has treated y'all for almost a decade. Not the butthole. So his bio parents weren't in the picture, but now they get to reap the reward of having their adult son and his family in their lives, while you've never even been able to meet your 3-year-old granddaughter? You live in the same city and you've never seen her? They don't care about you. Calling you to ask for help is outrageous after abandoning you and your wife. And I'm with you, if you give in and be the good guy, you'll end up getting abandoned again the literal second they have another option. The fact that his wife called you screaming in an effort to manipulate you is all the proof you need of that. At this point I'd be considering going no contact to lessen the pain that you feel. Am I the butthole for telling my best friend, Sil, the true reason for my divorce? I, 32 female, met my sister-in-law Mary, 32 female, in uni. We were assigned flatmates who really enjoyed cooking and baking together and became best friends. She actually introduced me to her brother John, 35 male, whom I dated and eventually married 8 years ago. We have 2 kids aged 3 and 5. Mary was thrilled for us, she had a close relationship with John, and remained best friends with me. John is very intelligent, and a bit competitive in nature, so he naturally went into an intense career field. Unfortunately he turned towards alcoholism to cope with an intense job. He started seeing a therapist who helped him identify his triggers, he drank less, and then he quit therapy thinking he was fixed. He started drinking more again after a while. He did the find a therapist, control his drinking, quit therapy process 4 times over 5 years. Each time he'd make promises and agreements. We had 2 kids along the way, the first before I realized how serious the drinking problem was, and the second after he agreed to quit completely and get fully sober. He went back on that promise and said he wanted to be in control of his drinking and only have 1 to 2 drinks a week. He never got completely sober. He'd flake out on promises to the kids and me. He'd go out with friends who encouraged him to drink and have 2 to 3 drinks and then start buying bottles of vodka and gin again. After the 3rd time he quit therapy I gave him an ultimatum, get sober or I was leaving him and taking the kids. I followed through with it. Mary and I stayed best friends after college, but John asked me to keep his drinking from his sister the first time around and didn't want her to think he had a problem. He was my husband, so I agreed if he worked on staying sober. When I divorced him, it appeared out of the blue to Mary and their parents, who couldn't understand why I would up and leave her brother and adamantly take the kids, only letting him have visitation. Mary blamed me for the divorce and wanted to end our friendship, so I told her the truth, that I loved him and still do, but I wasn't willing to spend the rest of my life and ruin my kids' childhood setting ourselves up for disappointment over and over again when he wouldn't stay in therapy or stay sober. Mary was horrified after I told her about everything. She got very emotional when I admitted to her how many times I let myself get excited for plans her brother made with me or the kids, only to be flaked on when her brother poured himself a drink after work. She went to give John a piece of her mind and asked him to get his crap together. John's now extremely upset at me for spilling his secret that I'd promised to keep, because Mary's image of him is now rubbish and his parents are disappointed in him too. I think I had a right to explain myself to my best friend, and I no longer had a promise to keep after he broke his end of it. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. Your image shouldn't be rubbish because he's embarrassed by his actions. Not the butthole. He's doing exactly what addicts do, which is hide the problem, and you had no obligation to enable him. His reputation is trashed because of his behavior, not yours. My name is Barskin, and I'm an alcoholic. And you are not the butthole. Keeping his secret is a form of enabling. It hurts everyone involved. You did nothing wrong and may give him a nudge to seek actual sobriety. I am very fortunate to have finally been able to admit I am powerless over alcohol. I have been very happily sober in AA for the past 16 years. I can tell you that the therapy and controlled drinking plan does not work. Alcoholics cannot control their drinking. 1 drink is too many. I truly hope your husband finds his way to real sobriety. I think AA, which is free and available all over the world, is the great option. But, if he is not ready, you cannot make him be. You have to take care of yourself and your family. Good luck. Not the butthole. What did your ex-husband expect, that you would take the blame for the divorce that happened because of his actions? To keep his reputation clean? What has he done to deserve that? No, you shouldn't be expected to keep such a secret for him. Am I the butthole for accidentally destroying someone's book? Last week, I borrowed one of my friend's books. We're not that close, but we both share a love of reading. Anyway, I was reading said book whilst in the bath last week, and it led to me accidentally dropping it into the tub. The pages are ruined and the book has expanded quite a bit, but in my opinion it's still readable. Of course though, I still felt very guilty and I offered to replace it. She refused and said that I shouldn't worry about it, accidents happen after all, but now I've found out that she's going behind my back and telling all our mutual friends about it. She isn't saying it directly, but she's heavily implying that I didn't try to do anything about it. I'm pretty sure I'm not the butthole, but some of my other friends say I should just be the bigger person and replace her book. However, I'm feeling quite hurt by her words and am now very reluctant to purchase something for her. So what should I do about it? Should I just ignore it or just go ahead and buy her another book? Edit. I've replied to a couple comments, but I think it's better if I just add everything here so everyone can have all the information. Firstly, I offered to replace the book like 5 or 6 times, but each time my friend told me to not worry and that it would just be a waste of money if I did decide to replace it after all I've already read it, she said to me multiple times. Also, regarding the bath controversy, I often read books in the bath to relax a bit in the evening. My friend knows this and even does it herself. I also mentioned that those were probably my plans, i.e. I said something like I can't wait to read this book in the bath later, and she didn't show any expression of discomfort or whatever. In fact, she slightly encouraged me by saying something like, I'm so jealous, I've got work later so I don't have time to relax, jealous in like a friendly joking way. Edit 2. Many people are wondering if the book was extra special in some way, excluding the fact that it's a book she bought for herself, and are also wondering what the book actually was, but no, it wasn't a special edition, nor was it sentimental. The book I got Wet was Open Water by Caleb Nelson. A beautiful urban fiction and romance book which deals with several important issues, I would recommend. This may also come across as defensive, but I truly don't believe the issue lies in me reading the book in a bathtub. My friend has also read the books I've lent her in the bath many times, and though it may seem like I'm careless with other people's books, this is the first time I have ever even slightly damaged one of her books. I truly did feel bad and insisted on replacing it multiple times, but each time she refused, so I just accepted it and moved on. You owe her a new book. You took a risk with someone else's property and destroyed it. You're the butthole for thinking that you don't have to take responsibility to replace what you destroyed. ETA, you should have bought a replacement and given it to her when you told her that you had an accident with the old one. Your biggest fault here was offering to replace it instead of just doing the right thing. What is the point of offering to replace the book? Gee, I was doing something foolish and ended up destroying your property. Would you like me to replace it? Or can I just forget it and move on? Would you like the waterlogged copy back? Like, what? You should have automatically have bought a new one. How is there even any confusion here? You're the butthole. Everybody sucks here, you for taking a borrowed book into the bath, and your friend for pretending like everything's fine and then talking behind your back about it. If you want to preserve the friendship, tell her that you know what she's been saying, you'll get a new copy of the book for her, but that it hurts you that she told you it was a non-issue and then implied to others that you hadn't tried to fix it. How she responds will be very telling and you can go from there. Yes, you're the butthole. You shouldn't offer to replace the book. You should just replace it and consider yourself lucky that it is easily replaceable. Am I the butthole for leaving my sister's wedding early after discovering that she brought Narcan? I, 27 male, recently went to my sister's, 31 female, wedding. I have been clean from opiates for 6 months. Our dad isn't in the picture, so I walked her down the aisle. Afterwards, as everyone was partying, I was having a good time and my brother-in-law came up to me kinda drunk to say how happy he was that they didn't have to use what they brought. I thought he was joking, so I asked him what that was and he said Narcan. Honestly, I got upset and told him that they don't trust me. I went to the bathroom to calm down, and when I came out my sister was there trying to explain. I told her that if she didn't trust me then I would just leave. So I did. Now that I have 20/20 hindsight, I'm conflicted. On the one hand, I know they could have been concerned about me considering my past, but on the other I find it kind of offensive that they distrust me so much that they needed to bring Narcan. So am I the butthole? You're the butthole. It's fantastic that you've been clean for 6 months. But that is not long-term sobriety. Brother-in-law shouldn't have told you about the Narcan, but they're not buttholes for having it. No buttholes here. Well, husband is a bit for telling you that, but consider this. Bringing Narcan is with the specific intent to save your life. There is no benefit to bringing it for them, except out of love for you. You are doing great at 6 months, but family is often very worried and scared relating to addiction, and I don't think 6 months is enough time to completely let that go. In my opinion, this is not a trust issue. But husband is in butthole for lording it over you while drunk, and I hope your sister rips him a new butthole for that. You're the butthole. I always have Narcan on me in case there is a crisis of any sort. You can't get high off it and it can save someone's life. Being prepared for anyone, not just you. It's probably just instinct at this point because of her fears in the past. Am I the butthole for not wanting to lie to my son for the sake of family harmony? My parents always wanted grandchildren and both my brother and I wanted children, but both of us ended up facing fertility issues with our respective partners. My wife and I eventually decided to start working with a surrogate. Our parents are old-fashioned, but they tried to be happy for us. My brother also tried. His wife did not. His wife is as against the concept of surrogacy as it's possible to be and always has been. We found a friend who was willing, and we now have a son. Sil went crazy. She spent months blasting all of us about how horrible we all were, that we supported all sorts of terrible practices because we were doing this, etc. She refused to go to our baby shower or see us in the hospital, but she did send a new mom kit meant for our surrogate with things to help a pregnant person recover from childbirth. My brother apologized for her, but said he couldn't change her mind. A few months later, my brother and his wife announced a spontaneous pregnancy, after more than 5 years of trying. Our parents were thrilled, and so were we. We were willing to put it all behind us. They had a daughter, and it only intensified her views. She refused to bring the baby over for holidays or to meet her cousin because she refused to have her daughter raised to view women as objects. Years later, she's softened to have our parents around without us at least. My parents want the whole family together again. She's agreed to a compromise that she's willing to do holidays and family outings as long as we never tell the children that our son is from a surrogate. Our parents think we should do this because she has a point and they were always uneasy with it. I don't agree. This isn't some shameful secret that we should be ashamed of. We didn't do anything wrong. My wife is adamant that we shouldn't but wants our son to have a cousin. My parents are calling me as much as I'll answer to beg me to consider. My brother just wants the tension to stop and isn't going to fight with her anymore. Not the butthole, your Sil can just mind her own business or frick right off. Not the butthole. Honestly, if someone is objectifying women, it's your Sil. A woman can do whatever she wants with her own body. Your surrogate was a willing, consenting adult and the fact that your Sil wants to tell her how to handle her own body is gross. Not the butthole. I guarantee lying to your child about their origins will cause divide in that relationship. Who is more important? Sil and her precious views or building an honest and open relationship with your child? Children survive without cousin relationships. And they thrive better without people who don't like their existence. BC it came in a different way. Sil is nuts. The truth is likely to tear the family apart, and Sil will be prompt to blame you. Since no one wants to stand up to her, do not expect support. Sad situation. Am I the butthole for refusing to make dinner after my brothers and sister ate without telling me? So I, 19 female, am a college student living with my parents, brothers, 13 male, and sister, 15 female. My mom works a 9 to 5 at her own vet clinic and is usually exhausted when she gets home from work. My dad works 24-hour shifts a couple times a week, and does renovations on our home all day on his days off. Because of this, my parents will ask me to make dinner for my younger siblings whenever they're busy. My brothers have hockey, volleyball and basketball pretty much every night and eat dinner as soon as they get home from school, 4:30. I have no problems cooking dinner because it helps my parents out and keeps my siblings fed. The other night I started making dinner when my mom got home early, and offered to take over. I went up to my room to study. After about an hour I wandered downstairs to see if supper was ready. My sister told me they all ate and just didn't tell me. There was no food left over. Since then, every time my parents ask me to make dinner, I'll either only make enough for myself or I make it and just don't tell them it's ready, so they have to eat it cold/microwaved. This has been pissing my parents off, and I told them I'd stop when they all apologize for not telling me dinner was ready. It seems petty, but I don't think it's too much for them to just apologize and admit that they were being buttholes for just refusing to tell me. Am I being petty and dramatic? Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. How rude of them not to leave you any dinner of the meal you started. Edit, for those people commenting that it's petty, yes it is, but all the family has to do is apologize for taking OP for granted and this will be over. The length of time this goes on is all on them. Duh. You want to feel appreciated. What they did made you feel hurt and used. You're also their child, not the help.